Welcome to Making an Impact by Volunteering, Using Your Talents for Good. I'm Allie Furtwängler, the Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep Volunteer Program Manager. I joined this team of caring volunteers in 2013 in a non-photography role, helping with recruitment after having lost my firstborn in 2011, and knowing how profound and important those images were for my family's healing and our grief journey. Not long after, I began taking on leadership roles. I wanted to do more for the organization and the families being served. Finally, in 2017, I couldn't take it any longer and I decided to dive headfirst into photography, knowing that the amazing community of Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep photographers and digital retouch artists would help mentor me. With my dedication and passion for the mission, I was able to go from not knowing why my images were turning out dark and yellow on my very first DSLR, enter lessons on the exposure triangle and white balance, to being a skilled photographer, comfortable and even confident with managing off-camera flash in just a few short months. So I personally know that anyone, no matter your current level, who has the heart for this mission will be able to work towards becoming an affiliated photographer or digital retouch artist, just as I did. This community of volunteers will be here and they will be ready to help you every step of the way. Today we will talk about what Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep is and how the organization was started. I'll provide brief details on our session process and our standard gift to families. We will walk through the process of applying successfully and what the skills and criteria are for our photographers and digital retouch artists, followed by the next steps after approval, so you can hit the ground running, making the most impact in your community. The Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep mission is to provide remembrance photography to parents suffering the loss of a baby with a free gift of professional portraiture or professional level retouching. These tender photographs documenting Maddox's eternal connection with his parents inspired Cheryl Haggard and Sandy Putsch to begin a nonprofit organization. Sandy and Cheryl founded Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep in April 2005. Here's a video about the history of Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep.
On February 4th of 2005, my husband Michael and I were anticipating the birth of our fourth child, a son we named Maddox Achilles. Unbeknownst to us, he was born with a condition called myotubular myopathy, which prevented him from moving or breathing on his own. We spent day after day by his side with hope and fear in our hearts, questions that had no answers. I tried my best to create and document our time together using my own digital camera. Every time I looked at Maddox through the viewfinder, my vision was blurred by tears. Reviewing the images, I only saw tear-stained cheeks, red, swollen eyes, forced smiles, and fear. It was then, on February 10th of 2005, that my husband and I made the heartbreaking decision to remove our son from life support. He was 6 days old. Hellos were mixed with goodbyes when my older children met their baby brother for the very first and only time. The mother in me knew I had to have my son's photograph hang alongside those of his older brother and sisters in our home. He deserved his space on our walls. I could not comfortably hang the raw color images I had taken that showed so much sadness. I wanted heirloom portraits. This is what we needed to bring healing to our hearts, a way to remember and honor our son. There were beautiful photographs hanging on the hospital walls of healthy, chubby babies. Even in the NICU, there were images of babies connected to tubes and wires, sensitive images that reflected hope in what had to seem the darkest of times. My husband contacted the photographer and was told she only had availability 2 days from then. He said that would be too late. It was then that photographer Sandy Putsch rearranged her schedule to meet us that evening at the hospital. Sandy created the most incredible images of Maddox while he was still alive, and sensitive images after he had died peacefully in my arms. These photographs bring healing to my heart while at the same time honor to my son. Words cannot describe the pain I felt having to leave the hospital, arms empty, without my son. But I knew deep within my heart I had something waiting for me, and that I would see my son's face again through photographs. Seeing the images of Maddox, I am not reminded of the pain and sadness of that night. I am reminded of the beauty and blessing Maddox continues to be in our lives. Through these photographs, Maddox has a legacy that will be remembered for generations. Because of the healing and hope the images brought to my family, the Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep organization was created with one simple mission, and that was to introduce remembrance photography to families suffering the death of a baby with the free gift of professional portraiture. I never wanted a family to feel they couldn't create these memories because of cost. For a bereaved family, there is no tomorrow. There is only now. There are no second chances, and there are no retakes. There is a fine line between life and death, and it's called time. Some families may have days with their babies, some only moments. And then there are those babies whose only time was spent in the womb. I wanted to share my story and let families know that it was okay to create these memories even if their child had already died. There is still a connection between parent and child, and a bond that will never be broken, even in death. While some may think that Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep photographs dead or dying babies, our perspective is we don't photograph death, we capture love. Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep started because of one mother's love for her son and the generous heart of one photographer. We continue to grow today because other families are sharing the stories of their babies, and because photographers continue to give selflessly of their time and talent to help heal a family's broken heart. Together, we are changing the way the world views infant death. Each life, no matter how brief, deserves to be honored.
So now you're wondering, how do I get involved? What does that entail? How much time and talent am I going to need in order to do this? So basically, our sessions start out by having a phone call, and a nurse or a family can find our photographers on our website. The family or the hospital will call the volunteers. Either they are calling an area coordinator or a dispatcher if the area has one, or if not, they will coordinate directly with the photographer. Once you are available to take that call, you will do your gear prep, make sure everything is ready, just as you would for a normal session. You commute to the hospital, and then you have about 30 to 40 minutes in the room. We don't want to take too much time in the room. We do want to make sure the family has as much time they can possibly have with their baby. We want to get in and get out and try and be respectful of that limited time they do have. After the session, you then will immediately back up your images to multiple points of backup. These are going to be extremely important images, and we want to make sure that we do not lose these images for the families. Retouching help is available, so when you take these photos, if you don't have time to do the post-processing, we have digital retouch artists who help our photographers if there is a time or a skill issue. That way the families are always going to have excellent images, and it's not reliant on your availability, because we know that getting there to take a 30-40 minute session may not be the bulk of the work, as editing, especially with babies who've gone through a traumatic birth, do require a little bit more TLC on the retouching side. Once images are retouched, whether it's by the photographer or a digital retouch artist, the delivery is through our logging system, and that will happen within 4 weeks of our session. We always tell our families that we will get them images within 6 to 8 weeks, but then internally we aim for 4 weeks so that we can under-promise and over-deliver for those families. What the Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep gift is It's a standard gift for all families to ensure that everyone is treated consistently, no matter the situation or condition of the baby. We provide gently retouched images in black and white or sepia tones. The goal is always quality over quantity, as anyone can capture images with their cell phone cameras or any over-the-counter DSLR. But we want to make sure we're providing them with something that's beautiful, that they're going to be proud to share without any restraint and are going to want to hang on their walls. With the Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep gift, a parent can forever see that their baby is there because you shared the gift of photography or retouching. You can't change what has happened to that family, but you can leave an everlasting memory for them through those photographs, and your gift is a significant part of their healing process. Often photos are the only way family and friends will ever meet these babies. In fact, my 3 children that came after my son wouldn't know their big brother if it weren't for the beautiful canvas photos we have hanging in our home. And this picture on the left here is of me, my husband, and my son. We have that on a 16 by 20 canvas prominently in our hallway. In addition to those free digital image downloads, families are going to receive deeply discounted professional prints if they wish, as well as a free MPIX photo album for those in the United States and Canada. The support of our industry leaders has been essential for our process and progress growing as an organization. So you might be thinking that you could never do that, you're too emotional, you'd cry the entire time, but you need to know that it's completely acceptable to be sincere. It's okay to cry, it's okay to be moved by what you're seeing and experiencing. You're always able to step out of the room if necessary. The parents will just see that you care about them and their baby. But in the long run, most of our volunteers are actually surprised that they get into photographer mode. Their focus is on getting the job done, getting it done well, and just like any other session, they just want to nail their shot list. So, one thing we always want the public to know is that we're not photographing death, we're capturing love, just like Cheryl said. And volunteer Karen Nickel details that sentiment perfectly in saying, "When I started photographing for Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep, I was nervous. I wasn't sure how I would handle the sadness. There is sadness and tragedy, but the bottom line is always love. These little angels are loved. Their families want to remember, and the pictures we can take help fill an empty place in a sad heart. What a privilege it is to be part of that. I'm a Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep volunteer photographer because of love. I know how much I love my babies, and I honor them each time I help another family. Love wins when we lift each other's up. Love wins when we remember." So, how do you get involved? The first step is to apply. Many people ask, why do we have an application if we're a volunteer organization? However, the answer is extremely simple. We have one chance to get this right for these families. There are no retakes, and the parents expect a certain quality of images from Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep. We need to ensure that our photographers can deliver this quality. So, we ask that you view the application in the same manner you would for a professional photographer or retouching position. The application is a $10 fee. However, for all trade show attendees, we're offering free application by going to the link shared. I'll share more about the skills and criteria evaluated by the review team momentarily. But once you've applied, you should receive a confirmation email, and if you don't, make sure to check your spam or your junk mail and set Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep as a safe sender. You should hear back in no later than 4 weeks after application, so if you don't, definitely reach out. Upon approval, you're sent a welcome and next steps email providing credentials for our volunteer training. There are one-time volunteer dues of $35 to cover training, welcome packets, and badges. However, we never want that to be a barrier for a dedicated volunteer, and we have scholarships readily available upon request. Once your training is complete, you will then be an active volunteer ready to reach out to your local team and make an impact in your community. So, as for the skills and criteria, all volunteers must be 18 years of age or older at the time of application. Due to the nature of our mission, we need to make sure we see your abilities in indoor posed portrait work. We are unable to accept lifestyle, birth photography, outdoors, wildlife, flowers, buildings, or any other non-human subjects, as this photography doesn't show the skills needed for posed portrait work. For the photographer role, our review team looks at three main criteria: lighting, posing, and focus. For lighting, the goal is to show directional lighting, not just proper exposure, but as you can imagine, blown out and blocked blacks are not acceptable. Rather, we want lighting that provides that depth so that when images are converted to black and white, the lighting helps evoke the emotion and love. With posing, the consideration is of general posing and composition rules, thinking of diagonals, triangles, eye movement around the image, and proper cropping. For focus, it's seemingly obvious, but it's sometimes not, and it's extremely key. We look for sharp eyes and making sure that focus is on the appropriate place, not on a flower or a headband of the baby. And definitely we suggest not using too wide a depth of field for application images, as sometimes they may be misconstrued as out of focus if it's not obvious as to what the intent of the main focus was. The lack of any of these components may result in a request for additional images to supplement your image submission. This is not a bad thing. This is just something so we can really truly ensure that we are getting to know your scope of work and your skill set. So when you're choosing your 5 images for the application, we want you to be extremely selective. You should look through your images and provide only images that showcase your best indoor posed portrait work. It does not have to be of babies or children, but rather we want to see those indoor posed portrait works using auxiliary lighting. Avoid candid or snapshots, and make sure you check out the application criteria details, which are on the application page. And you can also look at the image guide, which is all on step 1 of the application, and that gives you complete details. For the digital retouch artist role, we send 4 sample images within a week after your application, and those will be sent for you to edit with a scoring matrix, and it includes some finished sample images so you know exactly what's expected. The main goal of our retouch artists is to remove any evidence of trauma. For the sample images, there will be bruising and discoloration, dark lips, and other common issues that we see with our babies. And these images are actually intentionally very poor quality, as we often receive images from families from cell phone uploads that often contain lots of noise. We always work with what we're given. So are you not sure if you have the skills? The most important thing is having the compassion. With compassion, most photographers or retouch artists who want to do this will quickly get to the level of skill necessary to take the quality expected of Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep photographers and retouchers. If you are unsure, you can always send 3 images using auxiliary lighting to review@NILMDTS, the abbreviation for Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep.org, and we'll provide feedback and any guidance if you need. Most of the time, it's just a matter of providing the right images to demonstrate your skill for the genre that Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep captures. We always welcome compassionate photographers to join as an assistant to photographer, to go through our training and work with other volunteers to receive mentoring, with the goal of becoming an affiliated photographer or digital retouch artist when ready. And then retouching never has to be the barrier. We always have dedicated digital retouch artists who are here to help for those sessions you don't have the editing skill or time to complete. If going into hospitals as an affiliated photographer is not ideal for you, we encourage you to get involved in other roles. As I mentioned, we have the digital retouch artist role, and that's for volunteers who are unable to get into hospitals due to location or other logistics. These volunteers can be anywhere in the world, and when applying, like I said, there are 4 sample images for retouching to validate the skill. We also have non-photographer roles, such as assistants, community volunteers, and dispatchers. Assistants can remain assistants, holding lights, helping with posing, and other administrative things during a session, or they can join in the assistant role with the goal of working towards becoming an affiliated photographer or digital retouch artist. Community volunteers can help with various tasks such as volunteer recruitment, hospital outreach, team administration. And then dispatchers are the volunteers who answer the calls from families and hospitals to help find the local photographers who are available and get all the logistics settled. No matter what, there is a volunteer role for you here at Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep. More than 40,000 babies have been photographed by Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep volunteers since 2005. Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep serves in every state across the United States, all Canadian provinces, and over the years, we've had volunteers in more than 40 different countries. No matter where you are, you can be making an important impact in your community and beyond. So why not you? Why not now? Tomorrow could be too late. So consider volunteering today. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to apply at nowilaymedowntosleep.org, NILMDTS.org. You will find great fulfillment by lending your talent to a parent suffering the loss of a baby. This service turns a hidden pain into a beautiful portrait, one that brings healing to a family, awareness to a community, and a sense of great honor to you.